Hello, listening people.
Hello.
Hello, Bartek. How are you doing on this fine day?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well, and I know how you're doing, Ryan, but since the listening people are listening, I'll ask, how are you?
You know. So, we are here today on Spin Polish Presents to do our series Pictures Powwow, something that's so good, it's on IMDb for some mysterious reason.
Yes, and on this show, Pictures Powwow, we don't say slurs or swear words, but we are a little bit insensitive,
And patronizing.
patronizing, and what was the other one?
Ignorant?
No, it was insensitive, patronizing, and uninformed.
Now you have to give context, which is for kings, because if anyone hasn't listened to our podcast before, we are both spitting young gentlemen who happen to be Polish, and we found out, not so long ago now, but we did find out that someone or something, because we live in the age of technology that is awful, that there's an IMDb page for our podcast. We did not create it or authorize it or put anything in there, and there's some interesting little details, and I found a certain detail that, Bartek, you were referencing. So how about you tell us all a little bit more?
Sure, so literally yesterday we were hanging out and you were saying that you were looking through the IMDb again, and you're starting to have mixed feelings about it, or continuing, I can't remember what it was.
Continuing.
Because you found the Parents Guide section, which I never noticed IMDb had, but
It has.
yeah, it is there, I checked.
We've referenced it in Unappreciated Masterpieces.
I know that there are other websites that are like, this is a Parent Guide website. I remember I saw them all the time when I was looking for like quiz questions back in Unappreciated Masterpieces. And we have 3 or 4 subheadings in our Parent Guide. All but one of them are just straight up like, oh, because this is audio only, there's no sex, there's no violence. But they do talk about it. But then there was the language section.
Which they say we don't really swear, which is fact one wrong.
Yeah, I'd say that the first sentence, it's all opposite day is the way I described it, because we have sworn and we have said slurs in the past.
Just for clarity, cunt.
Cunt fuck.
Cunt fuck. Yeah, wank. Let's throw that in there too.
Whoa, Ryan, jeez.
The Americans don't understand wank. They just all wankers. I always think of this brilliant sitcom, Married with Children, and Peggy's maiden name is Wanker. And clearly the writers and the actors knew it was funny, but it never gets any laughs from the audience. And it's just dead silent every single time. And I think it's really funny that she's
funny.
like she's like from the South and she's like a redneck family and they're called like Peggy Wanker. And it's really fun. It's just juvenile. And no one in this American audience laughs, but I do. But yes.
The gist of this section is basically everything we've said so far, that we apparently don't swear or say slurs much, but we occasionally dip into stereotypes and cultural things that can be insensitive, uninformed, and said in a patronizing tone.
That's about me, the patronizing tone. I know that. I know I have a patronizing tone about certain things. The IMDb page is beyond us. We don't control it. It gets things weird. Like, it gave me... I already have an IMDb page, but they gave me a picture on there from my social media, so that's fun. But Bartek hasn't been given any pictures, and he has pictures online that you can get. So use his Facebook profile. That one's very funny. And it also has, like, one of our guests, just one.
Yeah, just one.
Just one.
And not even all the episodes she's been in.
No. Oh, well. But enough about our internet notoriety. I'm sure that will have nothing to do with the film we're discussing today, which is the 2021 film Belle, spelt with an E at the end. That's important. That will be important for the discussion.
And of course, that's the Western title.
Yes, that's the Western title. What's the Japanese title?
The Japanese title translates to The Dragon and the Freckled Princess.
Very interesting. And this is a recommendation from myself. We are going through movies that have come out during the time of this podcast and discussing them, ones we haven't seen before, or maybe one of us has seen, or maybe it's been so long now that we should give it a revisit, or heck, we have a podcast. Why not just talk about a movie that we like and bring it forward? And this is an interesting case because this is one neither of us had seen before, but we have familiarity because we've covered previous films from this director.
Yes.
So it only felt apt to be like, well, let's recommend a movie of his that's come out since the podcast that we haven't had the chance to discuss. And this was one of them.
I think he said, 3 or 4
Yeah,
since we started.
he's pumped out a few. So which director is this?
So it's Mamoru Hosoda. In the past, we have covered Wolf Children, and we have also covered The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. Both of them were my recommendations.
And the brief summary of Belle, for those who haven't watched it, but we recommend you do, is we are thrown into a world like our own, but different. There's this online hub world called You, in which you create your avatar and you live out this fantastical life experience. And our main character is an introvert teenage girl who's very awkward, but she finds mega success with creating an avatar that's a sensational singer, and she encounters a mysterious boy and wants to get to know the real him. But can you really get to know people through their online avatars? That's the base premise. There's way more that spirals out from here. And I recommended this, and I still say, everyone go check this out for yourself. We watched this in the original Japanese. I don't know what the dub is like, but I can just say in terms of the film, it's visually stunning. It's got a mix of 2D and 3D elements. It's very colorful. There's lots of music in here that's not incidental. There's a good amount of music, really interesting character designs, and that sci-fi concept, it's front-loaded, but surprisingly, it's not as heavy as you would expect it to be, yet it is there. It is still pivotal, but it very much is a film that is about the metaphor, the messaging, the theming. So give this a watch for yourself. Now, I spoke pretty firmly that neither of us had seen this before, but were you aware of this?
You brought it to my attention. That's how I heard about it. It's just kept in the back of my mind.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I found out about this because I watch a bunch of review channels. That's how I find out about a lot of newer cinema. And when this came out, the British film critic Mark Kermode talked about it, and he was very favorable about it. And I knew that it was this director, but I was just interested by the general premise of it, this kind of sci-fi thing, and something I had completely forgotten. So before watching it for this podcast, I had forgotten, to a level on purpose, what the plot was. I knew it was like a sci-fi thing, and I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure there's like an internet thing, but I couldn't remember if it was like parallel dimensions or different realities, or virtual reality is what it is. But I just forgot about certain elements. So when I watched it again, I had a good chuckle, and then I watched the review to remember.
I rewatched it as well,
and it was basically, hey, what if Ready Player One was good?
It was Ready Player One meets Beauty and the Beast,
which. That's the big thing too. That was a genuine surprise because I boot up this movie and it's called Belle, like the name, but then her name in it is Belle like the object, just double L. And I'm like, what's going on here? And then it took me so long. I was like, oh, it's Beauty and the Beast. This is Beauty and the Beast. Oh, she's Belle like Beauty and the Beast. I felt like such a dummy because again I didn't really remember all of the finite details. I just remember the kind of general gist, and I have a history with the director, as do you, and so I wanted to see this, but also just having a mild-mannered older British gentleman film critic just very positively review this movie.
He was enamored by it,
and use like all of this terminology. I found that very fascinating in itself because older film critics, when it comes to anime, it's usually the big dogs. And I'm not saying this director isn't a big hitter, but in terms of just like us Westerners, I think not everyone is going to know this director and his work. So it was kind of fun in that way. But tell me a bit more about what you felt about this overall, and just your general perspective on this director. We've covered a couple of his films, but are you a fan? Are you a follower? What's your deal?
So with regards to this film, I'd also forgotten a lot of the details from that video. Basically, all I remembered was the character design of Belle and the fact that in the clip that he showed in that video, that review, it was like a visual spectacle kind of thing. Like I completely forgot that it was like a science fiction thing. I forgot that he talked about how this is actually set in a contemporary world, but with, this meta world
Yeah.
that has, been created. I walked in basically only remembering those details. I think when I was looking up the film and I saw science fiction, I'm like, oh, okay, I thought it would have been fantasy, if anything, but yeah, so that was it. Mamoru Hosoda. So basically, the two films that we've covered so far on the podcast are the only ones that I had seen from him, and when we did them on the podcast, those were my second viewings. So this is my first time having seen Belle, and also the third film from him that I've seen overall. And he's an interesting one. Because both of those films, he is a big, well-known director. He's got a couple of films that people really love, like Summer Wars is the big one that I hear about a lot, which some people who were criticizing this one were just saying that, oh, he just did Summer Wars again, because that one apparently also deals with like science fiction, meta world, despite the poster just being some people in a countryside like farm, which surprised me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's always been a nice, gentle quality to his films. But I can also see that maybe he's not like he's not like Miyazaki level, like everyone knows about him and everyone's excited about his films. It's like the people who've seen his films generally seem to like them. And I'm kind of on the same page. Like, I really, really like Wolf Children, and Girl Who Rapped Through Time is good, but not to the same degree. So I was interested seeing this one because I heard such high praise from someone who I don't associate with anime.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a bit of a wobbly relationship when it comes to this director, because I liked Wolf Children a lot. I thought it was unique, fun, interesting, heartbreaking, very melancholic. Like, I still think about that, whether it's not just the visuals, it's the tone. And then The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, sadly, is one I almost remember nothing about.
Literally
nothing about.
The previous weekend you brought it up and you didn't remember anything.
No, it's a complete blank in my mind. So I've got 50% fail and 50% success with this person. And Belle is interesting because you mentioned, like, in your discussion there about like your history with him, like there's a certain gentleness, there's a certain lightness to his work. But, and again, people, spoilers, watch this film, we're going to get into it. I do not have that perspective on him. I think his films are very fucking mean-spirited and dark. Because Wolf Children is heartbreaking, and it's mean, and it's cruel, but it's beautiful, and it's emotional. And Belle is that as well. I don't remember The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, sadly. That one has leapt from my mind. And so when I was sitting down and watching this, I must admit that was in my mind. I was like, when's the shoe going to drop? When are we going to have... This isn't just your cutesy coming-of-age, finding yourself teen drama movie. When are we going to have the gut punch? And it shows up. It shows up, and it does come in, and I'm very mixed about that. And I'm very mixed about this movie overall. There's so much here that everything I want to praise, there's also an element of it that I feel criticism of. Like, for instance, visually stunning, amazing, gorgeous. However, I personally, and this is a personal thing, I'm always a bit iffy on 2D and 3D in the same space when it comes to animation, and a lot of the time with anime. And I get that it's a necessity, but there's just so many times I'm like, this is a good shot, but also this does, but it justifies it. But then I counter myself and go, well, it justifies itself. It's in a meta space where things aren't supposed to look good in our art form. It's supposed to look blocky. It's supposed to look like, like a game. So, but then also I'm sitting there going, oh man, if this was all just 2D, how good would this be? That's how my mind worked. And there's just so many elements of this movie where I go, oh, I like this thing, but then there's elements that I don't, but then it has a justification. And I'm in a mode where when I finished it, my wife asked me, what did I think? And I just said, I'm having to chew on this. This is it's stuck in the back of my mouth, and I'm just chewing, just going, I don't know, there's just a lot to take in here, which is the huge compliment I give. Like, out of all of his films, I think this is the one with the most going on.
Oh, easily.
It's just, like, it immediately gets to its fantastical premise as well. Like with Wolf Children, and I'm sorry, Go Leapt Through Time, I'm imagining you as well. it takes a little bit to kind of get to what it's doing. But this one, in terms of like its big premise thing, straight off the bat, you're in. And you go, okay, I've got it. This is what we're doing. And then it just keeps expanding out. So even though I may have issues, I will say that this does not waste its potential. It follows through.
Basically, what I'm hearing from you is that the design of this film, is totally solid.
Yeah. What did you feel about Belle?
I'm also kind of in the mixed category, and I watched it this morning, so I finished it maybe like 4 or 5 hours ago, so I still haven't had as much time to chew on it. Overall, I enjoyed it a lot. It was gorgeous. The performances were great. I also have kind of mixed feelings about like this kind of 3D CG, but again, it's justified. And for what it is, it actually looks pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Like all of the like camera sweeping shots, and you can see there's the third dimension to all of these characters, and the colors are really nice. So honestly, while there is like an inherent CG kind of feeling in me, like this was done really well, and I don't really have any genuine complaints about it.
Yeah, that's just a personal preference thing. On a technical level, this is as good as you're going to get it. I think from this time period and just budget, I don't know what the budget on this was. It looks expensive. Like this, they put the money in. And just personal preference, like when we see the real world and we have like the nice 2D, his usual character design, art aesthetic, I'm like, oh, I like this.
I think I read that the 2D art was done by his studio that he founded, and the CG was done by an Irish studio.
Yes, they're the ones who did Wolf Walkers and Song of the Sea. Wolf Walkers was, I think Commode even references in his review, was inspired by Wolf Children. So it's kind of like a nice... We work together on this thing. They're good. They do good animation.
That second one you meant, that was nominated for an Academy Award, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I recognize the name.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good. They make good films. But yeah, okay. So the Beauty and the Beast aspect was very fun discovery. As I said, I really did see that, and then as soon as it comes in, I feel so stupid. Like it took me way longer to realize, like, oh right, this is just like Beauty and the Beast. But there's a tip off in my mind because the Belle character design, when we see her and she has the freckles and the big eyes, I just said, oh, this looks like a Disney character. She looks like one of the Frozen girls. There's just something about that
like
character
Disney
design.
Princess.
A Disney princess type character. And then that just beautifully weaves into your mind as it plods along, as it is this like modern day sci-fi retelling of Beauty and the Beast. And not just the Beauty and the Beast story, but no, Disney's Beauty and the Beast is definitely being played here.
Like the camera shots in like the ballroom dance.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure that was in that film.
And just the shape of the dragon himself is very much the shape and build of the Beast in Beauty and the Beast, especially when he is in his raging beast mode.
Yeah, there's a bunch of roses.
There's rose imagery, yeah.
After the film was, there is a character in this film that I didn't pick up on it while watching it, but they're like a Gaston parallel.
It's so crazy, and I loved that. I am always a huge fan of when an artist has a big swing attempt at doing a reinterpretation, adaptation of a classic tale. Talking about just this year in cinema, one of the big contentious things was the Emerald Fennell's Wuthering Heights, and just like, why even bother adapting that book if you're not going to do anything with it? And I've yet to see that movie. I've no real interest in seeing it. But I'm always weary of having the criticism be, oh, an adaptation that doesn't feel like the thing itself. Because sometimes it depends what you do. Like, you can say, like, for instance, this movie is not a perfect adaptation, blah, 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 of Beauty and the Beast, but it's doing something with the general ethos and imagery of the Beauty and Beast tale that's been told in other pieces of media and using it as a foundation to tell its own story, which I like because there's a certain confidence in it, but there's a reverence for that material. It doesn't just feel flippant. It's not just, we're using Beauty and the Beast imagery to tell this coming-of-age story and this love story. It feels much more artistically driven, and I really like that. But what did you feel in regards to the Beauty and the Beast aspect of the story? Because that also takes a little while to reveal that that's what it's going for.
It
too.
takes a while to reveal itself, and also it's only really like half the film. Like there's a whole other like story going on here that's like, set in the real world,
Mhm.
and a mystery to uncover, to the point that I say that this is like partly an adaptation or a reinterpretation of like Beauty and the Beast, but I almost don't want to say that that's what the film is, just because there is so much else going on in
Oh
it.
yeah, that's the push and pull. With any of these type of stories, you're going to have the A and B plot, the real world story and the sci-fi world story. And
Yeah.
how much are you going to live in those? And for the most part, this is very 50-50 about it, I would say. I think it does serve as both of them narratively speaking. I'm not saying logistically time-wise, but just narratively speaking, I feel like both worlds are served the same amount of focus and impact.
It's a little more balanced than like Assassin's Creed was.
Yes, or the Matrix. Where the Matrix is like, we're in the Matrix, and we do get real world stuff a bit. And as each Matrix sequels goes, we get more and more of the real world stuff. And you're like, but I like being in the Matrix. It's like, but that's the point. You're not supposed to like being in the Matrix. But oh fuck, we've made the Matrix so fun. Yeah, I found that a bit difficult because I must be honest, I did not care as much about the sci-fi world, even though I liked the Beauty and the Beast style story. I just found the real world stuff much more engaging because it's emotionally more resonant to me. And I know that it's connected to the sci-fi world, but I liked the characters in the real world. I liked her dynamics with people in the real world. And I always felt like in the sci-fi, in the U world, there were people there that I was always like, are you going to be more, I hope you're going to be more of a character. And in the end, I felt like most of the people other than the dragon himself never really became players to me in the story. They were just kind of flavors of this universe and a hint of something that could be if you made that more 70% of the focus. Yeah.
The real world is like the anchor of the film. This is where all of the, to use the word again, real stuff is happening. Everyone that you see, other than like the little AIs, everyone that you see in that world is wearing a veil.
Yeah.
And their real selves are here in the real world. So the fun comes in with the characters in that virtual world wondering, who are they in the real world? And it plays around with that only a little bit. Like towards the end, like the climax in the virtual world, we start to see a lot of like the main players from the real world, what their avatars look like. And there isn't really that much focus on them. It's just like, that's clearly this person because it's look at these elements. That's also another thing we should mention about their virtual world avatars. They don't create them themselves. Their avatars are programmed to be based on their actual appearances, based on like the input that you give them.
Yeah.
So our main character Belle, it is partly based on her appearance, but she used a photo that was like a group photo, and she was sitting next to like the prettiest girl in school. So it's taken
them.
Yeah, so it's taken some elements from her.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing. I like one of the reviews I read was just like, how bad would you feel if it scanned you and you became like the narc cop? Like that's what you are determined to be.
You're going to be the cop from Redline.
Yeah, or you are scanned in and you're like a nasty little creature. What does that do to your ego and your self-worth? But the film unfortunately doesn't explore those aspects because our main character gets to be the pretty girl. And then have the virtue of her natural singing talent be combined with that.
Yeah, if it was a more fantasy premise that could get away with like looking at deeper aspects that machines can't see, maybe then it'll be a bit more like, it saw the ugliness in your soul.
I just felt like the Avatar characters could have been served more because by the end we get they all come together and sing and there's beauty in all of their heart shards fly up and they give Mitho his heart again type Princess Tutu type thing. But like for instance, the rival pop singer, I really thought she was going to be more of a character than she ends up being. And then we get like a resolution with her, but I never felt we got a story with that character. We have a beginning and we have a resolution. And that's how I feel. And then other characters like the kind of more narc cop character guy, he feels, to me, I really didn't feel much of a resolution with him. It's just kind of like things happen.
It's the structure of the film is quite odd. So we mentioned that this is the film that has probably the most going on of the Hosoda ones that we've watched so far.
Yeah, it has a plot.
It has a plot for sure. The other ones had plots too.
I don't.
But you don't remember the one that was more plot.
But even with Wolf Children, it's more the emotion, the feeling. I'm not going to tell you right now what Wolf Children's plot is, but because Belle is such a concept-based movie, you will lead with what the plot is first.
But basically, the point that I'm getting at is we start the film in media res, and, you know, in this opening scene, she's already the great songstress of You. She's singing a song, everyone loves her. And then we cut to, like, the earliest point in the story where she's, you know, still just a regular girl. She, like, hasn't really heard of You yet.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you get the setup of this world. She learns about You. She makes her avatar.
We see her tragic backstory.
Yes. But once she makes her avatar, she immediately starts singing and like, oh, she's not doing so well. So it tells you like, oh, okay, we're going to see a story of how we get from this point to that in media res point. And that journey is kind of non-existent. Like it exists, but it's very quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally the next day, she's already kind of hit that point. And then that early point becomes the status quo of the film, where it goes into a different plot, which is the Beauty and the Beast stuff.
See, okay, I actually like that. I actually really like that, because when she first rocks up, she starts singing, and she's actually good. She's actually doing well, but this is an internet troll world where people are snarking and being like, she's got freckles. Like, it's very much leaning into, you know, that perspective. But then she gets the other thing we often see with internet celebrity, which is overnight success. She's trending. And I actually don't recall how long this movie takes place. Like, once she joins You to the end of the movie, how much time has physically passed. But it's very much, what I like about it is, I think it actually captures beautifully how stardom and internet celebrity stuff works, in which the turnaround is super quick, because she gets it and she comes back to school and her friend is like her manager and she's done all of this social stuff and she's like, what the fuck is going, I have to go to school, like I can't handle this. And I personally think the speed up of pace works because we in the real world understand, even if we haven't gone through it ourselves, that weird dilemma that you're put in the internet age, in which you could wake up one day and you're now known by millions of people. And it's like, that's crazy. And I actually thought, because we're so in her shoes and understand her personality in our reality, in our real world, that the head spin sensation that she feels is what we feel, because the pacing is now ramped up to where you would be in the middle of the movie rather than the first bit of the movie. And I actually thought that was not only clever, but integral move.
It makes more sense in retrospect once I know what the rest of the structure of the film is, because when you're watching it, it is just like, oh, we're already kind of here?
Yeah.
Where are we going from here? And then it's like, hey, it's the other thing that this thing's inspired by.
And although we say this is a science fiction film, this is sci-fi fantasy in a lot of ways, because there is sci-fi here, but the way it handles it tonally and more metaphorically speaking is where you lean into like magical realism kind of thing, where now in this Beauty and the Beast story, which is inherently a very fantasy-based story, romantic as well, and it just is like, we get to the end point where it's like everyone's singing together and all of their shards go together and it gives us energy, and it's very magical. Like, it's using this sci-fi premise and this sci-fi idea and leaning very heavily into magical realism and kind of romantasy is what we have the term for nowadays, unabashedly. And that's the thing that I also appreciate about this film, kind of more than the other two we've seen, is it's so damn earnest. I never felt like there was a snarkiness to it, or I'm trying to be clever, or rug pull sensation, which, not to get too much into, but Wolf Children has a bit of a rug pull sensation to it, like, you enjoyed this, now this is the status quo. And this film isn't interested in that. It's just so damn sentimental and earnest and just very like curious about young people and want to get into their headspace. And to do that as a modern day filmmaker, you have to engage with technology and the relationship young people have to it, and how young people can have relationships through it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the most it gets is like, the snide trolley characters, where a lot of the film you get like a sort of chorus of sorts with like comments just flooding the screen, like reacting to something, and it's very much like, crowd mentality stuff.
And even then, that's not a huge factor of the movie. It's just to tell this story in this type of location, you have to bring that in.
Yes,
you
of
can't
course.
ignore it, or else it feels more inauthentic. And I think that is, I can understand why this movie can have a bit of a push and pull effect, or not fully land for people, because it's asking a lot of the audience. And when it comes to the technology side, the social media side, it is playing fast and loose with how we know it works in the real world, because it wants to engage in the more melodramatic, emotional storytelling rather than the hard logistics of all of it. Like, you could pick this movie apart and say, like, this doesn't make sense, this wouldn't work in the real world. It's asking a lot of you.
It takes a while for you to see like what the people look like in the real world while they are engaging with the virtual world. And even when you do see it, there is still like a bit of a disconnect where they're clearly conscious in the real world and reacting to things in the real world, but they're also in the virtual world at the same time.
Yeah.
But it kind of earns its suspension of disbelief with that.
And when it comes to the engagement of technology, did this succeed for you, or did this come across as a little bit of old people's interpretation of what their youngins are up to?
No, I think it did earn it, because we see not just young people using the technology. There are also older people using the technology, and they're not really like out of their element with it. Everyone seems to kind of be on the same page. Like, we have a whole, her whole little choir group who you can see their avatars on their phones early on, so you can know what they'll look like later on. There's a like older middle-aged woman who's like completely lying about her whole circumstances, and she's doing the thing that we talk about when it comes to like, presenting yourself in the online space. Like, she's presenting a version of herself that may not be accurate to reality.
I agree. I think there's always a level of, oh, how quaint of, these older people to come into a very, young space. I mean, the internet's been around for a while, but like how it's used is always ever changing. And, we are millennials, right? Is that what we are? And
Yes.
now Zoomers and whatever do things with the internet that we won't understand, because we are beyond that point. And it's just this funny thing where now our type of way of using the internet is considered retro, and it's something to make fun of, and Big Chungus and all this kind of crap, which is fair. But
hey, a millennial made Big Chungus and they stole it from them.
Yeah, exactly. But I bring this up because I do feel a bit of that from this movie, a bit of that. There are these older people who look at social media, these virtual spaces, and they have a bit of an outdated view on it, but I don't care that much, because and I say outdated, but also just a bit of a optimistic view on things a bit, because that's the challenging part of the movie. Is there's hugely depressing things and hugely upsetting things, and our characters make some choices that, if you apply it to real world, you will get upset. You will be like, don't do that. That's not what you're supposed to do. But the film is so damn in the headspace that it's like, no, this is the power fantasy. Like, you want to be able to do this. Like, you want to be able to go and save a person from your virtual life and go in the real world and be able to save them, or have a relationship with them, and all this stuff. And the film tackles that kind of mindset, and it can be a bit rickety with how you walk that line. Like, sometimes it fumbles it, sometimes it succeeds. And that was the thing too, where I like this, but I also have huge issues. Like, I like that the movie takes a huge swing dramatically where we reveal the real life circumstances of one of the main characters and how brutal it is, but then the reaction and choices of the main character are fucking bold, and it very much feels like a creative team being like, yeah, but we want to tell a story, and so we're going to kind of make things a little bit more mushy because we want it to be a nice story. Don't think about what this is saying about our real world things. Like, we're not caring about that. We are so in our romantic angle that we don't want you to ponder that. And that was difficult for me.
I think the film does at least, call attention to that, like give a rug pull, as you say, because one of spoilers are already off. So if you've seen the film, you know what we're talking about. If you haven't seen it, but you're fine hearing about it, the truth behind the main conflict is that there are two young boys who are in a domestic abuse situation with their father. And that's who the dragon is. The dragon is the older brother of the two. And our main character's whole motivation is to find out who is the dragon. She's interested. And when she finds out the truth, she gives him this heart-wrenching, I want to help you, a very, very anime kind of moment. I want to help you. Tell me, where you are. Tell me what I can do for you. And I promise I'll do it for you. And then...
Yes, not just that. All of us will help you. The entire you will help you. My entire school will all help you, and everything will work.
Yeah, and the rug pull comes from that character saying, I've been told that before, and, it's all bark, no bite. People haven't helped me. I do not trust you to do this. And then, the oldest lady in the room, behind them, she actually calls and says, hey, there's a situation going on. And she's told that, no, we can't do anything about it. And so it gives you this biting sense of reality, well, no, even if people have genuinely tried, it's failed.
Yeah. And that's all good. That all works. But then the film's like, yeah, but she's going to get into a car and we're going to rush real fast to find out how we can find out where this boy is. They do the enhance. And the character who's barely a character is like, I know where that is. It really rushes because it wants to get to that sweet spot to tug at your heartstrings, to make you feel good, where the characters embrace and we stand up to the monster in the real world. Because the monster in the virtual world is actually not a monster, but a victim in the real world. That's good and all, but it rushes past so many things because it wants to get into the thing that matters the most in these type of stories, which is that sweet resolution in which our characters embrace, and our hero is a hero and she saves them. And you're like, this is a small teenage girl who's driven a car and could get beaten to death by an adult man in an alleyway. And the film's like, no, he gets all scared, he cries and he runs away. And I'm like, I'm with you, movie. Yeah. I'm trying real hard here, but you're making it really damn difficult.
Emotionally, on a vibe level, you've done it, but once you've asked us to look at the reality, and this is the last we see of these two characters. We don't know what happens next to those two boys.
Exactly, that's so infuriating. You said it offhandedly, but I think it's something to mention. It's very anime. In that way, the resolution, this isn't directly that, but a part of what comes to my mind when you say that, and I'm sure you can expand upon what you feel is.
There's a series of tropes.
There's a series of tropes, but one of them is friendship is magic. All of the community, all of us get together and we fix the day through just pure good deeds and emotions and the feelings and damn systems and logic and other people. We do it. We go in the car and we drive over there. And again...
She took a train, by the way.
Oh, yes. She got into a car, right, at one point.
She got into a car. They took her to a train station and then she traveled half the country away.
Yes. But the point being let's go now without any other adults. Just me.
Well, the adults, left her at the station.
Responsible adults who know that there's a physically abusive man. Again, these are the things. Where it's anime. Anime.
You know what? I didn't even, actually think about the no adults went with her.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
the film's like, don't think about it.
I
Be
thought about all the
swept
other
up
things,
in-
but I didn't think of that part.
Be swept up in the emotions. And
Yeah.
I'm not unsympathetic. Like, I think what it's trying to tap into is what I said before, which is that feeling of like helplessness. And when you're in the online world, that gets amplified. Like, you're just behind a keyboard. What can you do? Wouldn't it be great if you can find out where people are and you can go to them and you can make their lives better in the real world because of your online strength and community? Wouldn't that be nice? And the film has that sensation and then puts it in a really, really dark place and then asks you to accept what its answer is to that. And it's like, I don't know if I could follow you all the way there, Belle. I couldn't. Like, I must admit, like, the ending of this movie left a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. I was like, I'm trying, but I can't follow you all the way here.
I accepted the vibes, but the reality is definitely there.
Yeah.
The reality of, like, analyzing what was there. Because, again, I mentioned it before, like, that the last we see of those two boys is that hug scene, then she goes home and, she's being, you were the hero, and it's like a resolution to her story. Yeah. We don't know if, like, the boys, like, the father got better, or if they went into, like, a nice foster care system or something. Like, we don't know.
We don't know. We just don't know. What did you feel about the romance, the connection, the relationship between Belle and the dragon?
So I also have kind of mixed feelings there too, where it's established early on that our main character, Suzu, has a boy that she has feelings for. It's this, like, kind of aloof, I think most handsome boy in school is kind of like his little reputation there.
They had a previous relationship when they were, like, really young.
Yeah, when they were cutesy. 6, he said, I'll protect you, because he saw her being bullied, and she took that, she's been enamored with him ever since.
Offered to marry her. And,
she took it as a proposal. That's how we meet that character too. She's like telling her friend, like, oh yeah, he proposed to me once. He said he'll protect me.
Very cute.
And so I thought, like, okay, this is the love interest of the film. And through, thinking about how films work, the possibility was that, like, oh, maybe he's the dragon. The film actually goes in an interesting direction where he seems to be one of the only people that's not on you.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like that.
I like that too. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting turn.
He's not on you, but he's got, like, the wisdom to know, like, how to solve the problem. Like, you need to show your true self in that virtual world. But yeah, in the end, obviously, he's not the dragon. The dragon is someone else who we got, like, a Chekhov's gun kind of thing. Like, oh, that boy in that one footage from earlier in the film, that's the guy. And so when I hear that, like, oh yeah, there's a romance between our main girl and whoever the dragon is, and it's not the guy that she likes, I'm kind of like, oh, well, I was kind of rooting for this. And in the end, when the boy who is the dragon says, I love you, she says, thanks. She doesn't return the feelings there. She goes back to, her real world, her community, and and the boys there. They don't get together there, but there is, like, a little moment between them. So I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe this is actually the true romance that this character's having. So I'm kind of leaning towards, not knowing what the relationship with the dragon actually was. I
am very mixed as well, because I really didn't feel like we had much time with Belle and the dragon. And when we did, it was volatile, to say the least, because he's volatile himself. But I also think there's a merit to telling that teenage love story in which, the I can fix him type
also
love story. And that's also a part of Beauty and the Beast. But in this world, unlike Beauty and the Beast, she isn't trapped there. She isn't trapped there to fall in love with him and you have a question. She's a superstar and everyone loves her and she can leave whenever she wants. She chooses to engage with the dragon. And I think that's an interesting dynamic. Like, I really think there could have been more time spent on that and more time spent on the reactions of her real-world friends as well as the online community having concerns about her spending time with this potentially monstrous, abusive figure. But I felt like we didn't get enough time on that, personally speaking.
Yeah,
So,
most of the film's interested in like the mystery of who is he, and there's like all of like the media speculation, all these suspects and their little arcs that we get little glimpses into.
but why is she interested other than it's a mystery to be solved?
Yeah, there came a point later on where I actually asked that question, like, what was her initial interest in this guy again? Didn't he like kind of crash into her concert and there was like
Yeah.
a fight and she was just interested in that?
Yeah, I wish there was a bit more of, to indulge in this a bit as well. Like, we see the footage of early on of what the real boy looks like, and it's a Chekhov's gun. And if you, sorry to say it, but if you've watched things, you knew that was going to be the guy, because the way he's illustrated is such a anime boy love interest type, like the real version of him.
Yeah, he's very gloomy.
He's very, yes, he would be hanging out with all of the anime boys. So it was very funny that I was like, oh, it's that guy. Okay, great. Immediately got it. And then the film proved me right. But I wish that we had a bit more of, when we say that anime boy gloomy type, a part of that relationship in anime, but also just in media, is the courting phase, and the fact that one party's not interested, but they kind of are. Like, even down to something simple like Grease, for instance, in which you have the good girl and the bad boy, and they have their social dynamics that they must play up. The film teases some of that as well, but I don't really feel like it's sunk its teeth in. So when we get to the point where he in the real world says, I love, when they finally have their embrace and it's like, I love you, and she says, thanks. I actually found that honest to what the film has been doing about their relationship, but I don't know what that means overall.
Well,
it felt consistent, but I also was like left at the end going, okay, so this isn't a love story, it's just a coming of age story.
I tied her response back to what I would say is probably the funniest scene in the film, where the prettiest girl in school's feelings are revealed to like the canoe guy.
I love the canoe guy.
That scene was so great, and that character's great. But it's a follow-up to a previous scene where, he thinks that a girl rooting for him to succeed in his competition means that they might have a small crush on him. And in this case, it ends up being true. And he like tries to run away from the situation. Our main girl, is trying to play matchmaker. Like, no, you can't run away. It's like, what do I say? It's like, I don't know. Could you at least say like thanks or something?
Yes.
It's like, a sort of like bare minimum response.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not like fully committal, but it's something. And so her saying thanks at the end, I'm like, oh, okay. So that's, at least acknowledging the feelings there, but not reciprocating.
Yes, and I think that works. Like, I think it works overall, but
I agree.
Again, I think in the grand picture of the movie, when you walk away from it, you're not left satisfied. But is that the point? And if so, what's that point in aid of when it comes to their relationship? And there, again, the movie introduces an domestic abuse angle, very, very hard-hitting stuff, very uncomfortable stuff. And then it resolves it in a very quick and hapdash manner. And then it's like, and that's the movie. We're feeling good. And unfortunately, with the thanks, and then we don't really follow through on him, I do feel like the dragon, I do feel like the real life boy was more of a plot device, a narrative device, rather than a character that the film itself genuinely fell in love with as well. And I'm not trying to be too dismissive. Like,
No, I
think
agree
the
with
film
you,
is
though.
trying to be sensitive, but I think in the end, because of just how it comes together, it doesn't feel as genuine as I think the film is intending it to be.
There's also an interesting parallel with one of the choir ladies talks about how, it's one of the younger ones. She talks about how she was once interested in a boy, and she decided to give him a gift, and it was a song, and the other girl's like, oh, you didn't get with him? Why not? And then she reveals, well, he was 14 years old.
Yes.
Revealing that, like, oh, okay, it wasn't like a romantic thing on her end. It was just, a genuine interest in someone who's been paying attention to her. And so there's a parallel here where the boy is also 14 and she didn't get with him.
Yeah. You brought up the handsome boy at school. So it's so interesting because I had a different reaction as well. So when we meeting our main character and her social group and where she is in the world, and we will talk about her backstory, very interesting part of the movie, very interesting part. But the handsome boy that she used to have a thing with, but not really, you know, that also ties into what you're saying, like that kid relationship
puppy
with
love.
puppy love and just, you know, rose tinted glasses and all of that stuff. But I found it so interesting because we're introduced to the canoe guy. And he's like the oddball character, but he's like a really handsome guy. Like they draw him and he's really handsome, but he's like the goofy guy. And I genuinely thought, before we get into the dragon and all of the Beauty and the Beast stuff, I thought we were going to have, she's in love with the handsome guy, but she's going to get with the canoe guy.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's what the story was going to do.
Sure.
And then once there was a mystery, I'm like, oh, is it still going to be, they're making us potentially think it's the handsome guy, but then it's actually the canoe guy, because I was still thinking so small scale. But
the energeticness was like a front.
Yeah, but to give the film credit, absolutely wise decision to make it like this person is not someone she actually knows in the real world.
Yeah.
That's just, it's much better. It's much more true and honest, and it's more interesting.
Again, yeah,
frankly.
I agree with you too. The side of me that has, quote, seen movies before was like, okay, it's got to be someone in her social group, and it wasn't.
It wasn't, and that was very, very good. Now, our main character has a tragic backstory, and that was another thing where I'm mixed on it, because I personally think the backstory is so weird that I will think about it often, but it's implemented in a way that is so clearly just not only exposition for the audience to get us to understand the character, but an easy and quick way to get at our heart to care about this character more than I feel the film itself is doing with her. Because as well, we are told like she's anxious and she's got all of these issues in the real world, and like when she sings she vomits, she can't, all of these things. But honestly, that also feels like such a small fraction of time in the movie that halfway through I kind of forgot that in the real world she is as anxious as we were told. And that's it. Told rather than actually experienced is how I view it. And her backstory just is like, character has a dead parent. You have to have that. But it's such a unique and oddly specific type of dead parent story that I like that, but I don't know if I like how it's put in the movie overall. Like, again, this is what I mean, where I'm still chewing on it, and there's still elements of this where I go, I don't know if that's digesting right.
Her anxiousness after she becomes like the famous Belle is kind of presented more of like trying to keep up with everything, you know, socially, rather than like her general, like, you know, being shy and not talking. So like I think, again, going back to the whole thing about how, you know, earliest point in the film up to the status quo, I feel like that period there is where all of the stuff that you just described kind of lives in.
Yeah.
Because after that, it's like, oh no, the whole school saw the, you know, hand interaction I had with handsome guy, and now I have to, you know, work with my friend to quell all the rumors, and it's presented in a very interesting way.
Yeah.
Her anxiousness comes across in different forms, dealing with different things after she becomes online famous.
What did you feel about the backstory, and could you please tell it a bit more for the listening people out there in regards to her mother?
Sure. So fill in anything that I miss. But from what I recall, it was that, you know, she had a, you know, loving mother. She's voiced by Sumi Shimamoto, who's in a bunch of Miyazaki films, including the one that we covered, The Castle of Cagliostro, where she was the princess. Mm-hmm. She's a loving mother, and you see that they connect through like music growing up. I think the choir ladies in the film were like old friends of hers, so that like, oh, you know, this connection is still there. You know, friends with our friend's daughter.
Connection to the past.
Connection to the past, and they would like play on the little app piano, sing together. And then one day they're spending time at a river during a storm, and there's a girl stuck on a little island in the middle of the river crying, and the mum decides to risk her life to save the girl. And she saves the girl, but she loses her life, and this is the tragic backstory of our main character that turned her into the anxious person she is at the start of the film.
There's a social media aspect to it as well.
Yes, the responses that the general public seem to have towards the mum's sacrifice is leaning more critical of the fact that she would lose her life for another girl rather than the daughter that she has.
And very much leaning into that online trolling type thing. It isn't just they're very much like the online trolls we meet at the beginning of the movie when she
Yeah.
enters you, like
Long
that
before
type of
you was a
critical.
thing.
Exactly. So things remain the same in a way, that type of deal. And again, it's so oddly specific, you know, like you got this circumstance and the mother just rushes out there and she's gone, and our main character is this little girl and she doesn't understand and she's just left there. And then she has like this good relationship with her dad, but it's just non-existent because the vacuum of her mother is just so big that nothing can fill it.
Yeah.
And again, I can see the value and the point of it all, but a part of me is still like, I'm yearning for better exploration of this grief because, again, it's so different than other tragic backstories, parent has died type tales, that I'm still on the edge of my seat waiting for the film to give us more on it, but it doesn't. It's just kind of like, here's the thing.
Here is the reason why our character is the way she is. There's no mystery to solve with it or anything like that.
It's not just, I'm not needing more answers in that way, just more, I don't know, something more exploration about the mother and the missing of her mother. It just comes across as, here's a reason why she's an introvert.
Yeah. It's interesting because literally yesterday, as if this recording, we were watching more of The Ancient Magus Bride.
Yeah.
And that also has a female main character who has a trauma related to, you know, her mother and like the ending of her time with her mother. And we won't spoil that one, but we got to a point yesterday where we got like the exploration of that. And it was one where like the whole truth of the incident was like reinterpreted by our main character and gave her a more positive outlook on how that horrible event from her past actually played out.
And how it's formed her life. Yeah, it's interesting. Is there anything else you want to say about Belle overall?
Of course. We haven't really talked about her friend group that much.
Yeah, well, let's talk about them. What did you feel?
I think that friend group is the thing that I love the most about this film.
Yeah, I wish we had a whole movie about them.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like most of them were around for a pretty good chunk of it.
Yeah,
though.
but I just kind of wish that we had a sequel movie where it's like they form like a band or something. You know, they were just such a great.
I liked all of them a lot.
Like a representation of like fun different youth archetypes. I liked her nerd friend who was like the manager.
Yes. It's fun.
Oh my god,
it's so
she
much
was amazing.
Yeah, she was so great. She
And I'm waiting for the moment where she gets chastised for being too much of like a Milo from Catch-22, like too much of a capitalistic scumbag, but the film is like, nah.
She gets chewed out by her parents for being loud.
Yeah, that's it.
Because she's in the middle of like evil laughter. No, but she's introduced as like, you know, snarky friend who's like, oh, you're a plain Jane. You're not pretty like the pretty girl there. But then when she becomes the manager, she becomes a bit more crazy, and her avatar in the world of you is this like very mascotty looking character who's like, you know, the more energetic, like outspoken, yell out.
But it's like this innocuous, almost faceless little thing. It's just like a little blob. It's so funny.
Yeah, and she still has like, you know, sensibility to where like she talks about her mum and she realizes like, oh no, this is like a traumatic thing for you. Yeah, she's fun. She's not a voice actress. She's a singer. She's in a group called Yo Asobi.
Can I ask, does she sing in this movie? Or is she just acting in this movie?
Did she sing in this movie?
No, I'm not even saying her character. Like, does she do the singing voice for anyone? It's just so interesting to get a singer to be the voice of a non-singing character. I'm curious if they.
You know, I'd have to look into it. I'm not too sure, but yeah, she's in this group called Yo Asobi. I think in recent years they did like the music for a popular anime called Oshinoko, which was a really big thing. And for something that we're probably going to watch together at some point, she and the partner in the group did the at least first opening of Gundam The Witch from Mercury.
Oh.
It's a really, really catchy song.
There you go.
So
Yeah,
I was, pleasantly surprised to see, like, oh, this is not a voice actress I know, but I've heard her before. She's a good singer.
Yeah, she was good. Like, I love that character. I like that the friendship between them felt real because at the beginning you have her making these really put down comments, these snarky comments, but our main character knows that and calls her out on that. And it's in a way where it's like, here you go again with your fucking bullshit type banter between them. Love that type of banter.
Yeah, she was the one that she directed, like, oh, he proposed to me at one point, you know?
Yeah, it was just so good. Like, they had a catty dynamic that, not to say I don't see portrayed between female characters and things, but it almost reminded me of the two guys from Superbad. Just like that type of like snarky, like back and forth, like, hey, you're being a dick to me type of thing, but obviously in this mannered Japanese way. But I just really enjoyed them. And again, I could have had just more. Like, it was that thing of where the real world was far more engaging to me than the sci-fi, fantastical, beautiful space opera, virtual space, blah, blah, blah world where we're having an interesting reinterpretation of Beauty and the Beast, where it's like, man, I could just watch this story about, like, the canoe guy and his friend group, and like all this stuff was just really sweet and nice and funny.
Yeah, very, very funny. I already talked about the funniest scene. You see that a lot in the real world, everyone behaves in a very like realistic manner. But we have this one scene. It's the scene where we reveal that she's like, being the manager and she like goes to her house. Where they start making like just very anime faces, like it's stuff that you'd see in like Azumanga Daioh and Nichijou, where their eyes just go white and they have like the big mouths that are just like
doesn't
D-shaped.
Really do that much.
It's basically just that one scene, and it's just to highlight like the type of relationship they have even further. Because at first, like we said, that character is very snarky, but this is a reveal that like, oh no, they also have a very energetic.
Yeah, they live in their friendship group. Here's what the film does. Okay, we have that moment. It's very funny. And it's like this little animation mode was like, oh, by the way, if this was a film about these two, it would be a slice of life shoujo comedy. But too bad, we're in a sci-fi film where there's business. Yeah. And I love that. It's so good.
And thank you for bringing up shoujo, because I was going to bring it up for something. Another character that exists in this film is the prettiest girl in school, who is she's super talented, she's super pretty, and there's a little bit of a like potential like rivalry cattiness going on there that eventually reveals itself to not be that at all.
I loved that too. The film did that so often. It was like, you think this character is going to be the stereotype or this or that, and then they're not. Like even like the handsome guy she was in love with, he's like a really mature, sensible man, like guy. He confronts her to be like, do this. No, this is the way we got to do this. It's just like, I had my jaw on the floor being like, oh, great, they're not being dicks with these characters.
But here's the thing. It made me, once I found out, once the film ended and I knew who this character was, I thought back to her introduction. I just kind of loved it even more.
Yeah.
Because it's our two main characters are on like the balcony and they're looking down and she's doing a performance where she's got like a saxophone and they're giving narration about like, oh, you're the prettiest girl in school. No wonder she's our class president, da-da-da-da-da, and like that. Meanwhile, this character is just playing on her saxophone, like just completely focused on and doing a really cute dance where she's like jumping between her 2 feet. And in like a more catty shoujo anime, like an Utena kind of thing, the moment where you talk about or introduce the pretty girl in school, it's going to be like the low angle panning shot of like tableau, hair blowing in the wind, like, oh, the pretty girl.
She
and everyone's
has her
like,
bitch friends.
Yeah, and everyone, all of the like, faceless crowd are like, oh my god, a pretty girl in school, woo. But here it's just her doing this like really cute little dance, and in the end she turns out to just be a nice little girl.
Yeah, she's just like, I'm a Nichijou character, by the way. I'm just like this cute little girl in the background just living my life. Yeah, this was again, pros and cons to this movie. I have big smiles on my face, but then there's just stuff that gets me upset with the movie, and not in the way it's intending me to be upset. My final big point, I have 2 final points. One, what the fuck were those credits? The end credits were just showed stills of the movie that you watched.
Yeah.
What was the point? Like, it looked corny as hell, and the only way I could give it a pass is, wouldn't it be great if you saw, the different animatics to show you how he got to that point? That would have been nice.
The most interesting part of it was that there was a part near the end where the sequence of images were like, oh, character in the real world, their avatar, and just to like, in case you missed it, like, hey, look at this.
But the other thing I have to ask is, I mean, we've seen the same amount from this director, we've seen the same films. Is this his funniest movie? I don't remember Wolf Children being funny. I don't remember The Girl Who Leapt Through Time at all, so I can't give you an expertise, but...
Wolf Children wasn't really all that funny. They were like, cute little... It was mostly cute little moments.
Yeah.
Girl Who Leapt Through Time did have funny moments, but they weren't as, like, outrageous as the ones from this one. There was like, there was a relationship between our main character and her sister that was a little bit like, they had a bit of a disconnect. There was the funniest part of The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, I would say, is, and it involves a character who I think you said was your favorite, which was the love interest in that film, where our main character has the ability to like literally leap and go back in time.
Yeah.
And there is one day where this like kind of more bad boy character confesses his love to her, and she doesn't know how to handle it, so she decides, okay, I'm going to leap back in time, redo this day so that doesn't happen. And it's this montage of like, no matter what she tries, it always ends up with him confessing his love to her, and she gets really exasperated about it, even to the point where like he just blurts it out of nowhere.
Nice.
It's that kind of humor.
Yeah, I just thought this film's humor was surprising to me because it was always sprinkled in, and I never felt it was in the wrong moments. Sometimes anime can have that issue for people, for us, where like you have this hard-hitting story, but then we're going to have a little goofy thing because it's an anime. But I never felt like it was intrusive. I never felt that it took away. I always felt it was in support of what the movie's doing or was welcome at the right moments that it came in. And I was just genuinely blown away because I thought of this filmmaker as dark, upsetting, gritty, like he's that's what Wolf Children is to me. I think of that as a very upsetting movie. It's not one I would recommend people watch just casually. Like that's a tough film, and this film has tough elements to it, but then it's also so light and breezy and fun. That's why it's so difficult. This movie's difficult. Do I recommend it? Yeah, but also no. It's one where I'm sure at the end of the year, when we kind of have a moment to talk about things we've covered, I will be like, oh yeah, and Belle, here's how I feel about it now. But after having it's not even been that long since I've watched it. It was just last night. I'm just still like, it's whirring in my mind about it, and I'm curious to see his other movies. Like I have no frame of reference outside of the three I've seen, and he does have a certain style, and now that I've seen three of them, I can answer my questions from Wolf Children. Yes, he's a furry. I get real furry vibes from him. I remember in Wolf Children being like, is this a furry thing? And in this movie, we get a lot of furry action going on. So I can confirm to myself from the past, this guy's got furry shit going on.
Well, when you delete the one film that you've seen where there isn't furry stuff, I guess that's what you're going to go for.
Yeah. yes. 2 out of 3 got furry shit in there. So... neither of us have seen, didn't he have one that was like an Academy nominee or...
Mirai.
Mirai. We haven't seen that either.
Yeah, I think that one's also a time-traveling one. Mirai means future.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something about like a sibling relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen the poster, but that's about it.
There was some trivia for this where one of the reasons this film happened is because Mamoru Hosoda went to the Academy Awards because of Mirai, and he met someone that he was a big fan of and was a big fan of him, and so they worked together on this.
Oh, nice.
I think it was like character designer or something like
that.
That
makes
sense. There was a lot of people that contributed to this film.
Yeah, there's a lot of non-Japanese names you see, and you're like, oh, okay. And then, like, that Irish studio worked on this, so
there's a lot of trivia about, like, the guy that's only ever worked with Hideo Kojima worked on this. I'm like, oh, okay.
Nice. Would you recommend Belle?
Oh yeah, easily recommended. It's not perfect, but there's just so much going on here that's worth your time.
Now, we often do this with anime. Are there any voice actors of note that you haven't listed or mentioned at all that you want to highlight, or any people that stood out?
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar to what we were talking about last week with Look Back. You look at the cast list, and the more minor players are the ones that have like the really big names, including the one that we talked about last week. I see is in this film. He was the Gaston policeman vigilante character, Toshiyuki Morikawa.
Yes.
Yeah, he was there. I remember I heard his voice in this. I'm like, I recognize this voice. Who is he? And,
Yeah.
well, he was the man in the 4 coma last week.
Yeah, there's a lot of just people showing up now in terms of like I've mentioned to you off mic about this, but the lead from 13 Assassins, the film we covered, he was the dad in this,
Yeah,
and
her
he's
dad.
like a live action actor for the most part, but he's worked. He was in Mirai as well, so he's worked with this director. Like when I look through his career, a lot of his voice roles are with this team, so I guess he has some kind of connection in that way. So
I think
that's interesting.
I think I was reading that even some of the big voice actors that I'm about to list off were like in some of his other films.
Yeah, he's
like
been around for a good amount of time,
Yeah,
and
I
you
think
get
there
the
was
big actors in.
There was one, I can't remember what it is, but I think it's from like 2015 that had some voice actors that returned in this. But yeah, I saw other names. Kenjiro Tsuda, he was the suspect who was like the tattoo guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've again, I can never remember like big things that you'd know him from, but he was like Kaiba in the Japanese version of Yu-Gi-Oh! He was a minor character that we really liked in Ping Pong.
Yeah.
He's a big one. I saw that the woman that I mentioned earlier who was like, oh, presenting herself as like this nice mother, but she's actually, lying about everything and her avatar's a baby. I see that she's voiced by Mami Koyama, who we've talked about a bunch. Cecilia Zabi and all these other roles.
Yeah, she's in a bunch of anime that I've just been watching, and I was like, oh, a bunch of these people from Dear Brother are going to be in Belle, so I'm going to be rehearing them, and I did. I was like, hey.
We've definitely talked about her on this podcast before, and I've talked about how in recent years I've been watching a lot of older stuff, and she's just a name that keeps popping up.
There's some actors here that I'm like, oh, I have not yet watched these anime, but I'm aware of them, and then there's some who like, I do anime and live action, and I have a mixture.
The only other one that I'd point out is Mamoru Miyano. He played the two that were doing the Bokeh and Tsukomi routine, like the straight man and like the dumb guy.
Nice.
It was like an egg character and
yeah.
yelling about things, and the other one was like saying, what are you talking about? That kind of routine. Mamoru Miyano, he's a very big voice actor. He's Light Yagami in Death Note. He's the main character in Steins Gate. We've heard him in Assassination Classroom as the principal's son.
Oh, I love that character.
Yeah, he's a very big voice actor who I've always struggled to like pinpoint what he does, but he's always really great.
No.
In the Japanese version of Final Fantasy 15, I think he's Ignis.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go. That's cool. No, there's just a bunch. I'm sorry if you've already said some of these people before, but there's the guy who played the husband in Way of the House Husbands in this movie, so that's fun.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, there's just random...
Oh, he might be Kenjiro Tsuda.
Yeah, he's Kenjiro. So he's done like a lot of live action stuff and a lot of voice stuff, and like he's done stuff that I haven't seen, like 100 Meters and Chainsaw Man and like a bunch of anime.
A very big voice actor.
He's got a few. We have a anime watch group together, and he has a couple of roles and ones that I've put on the list, but we haven't got there yet. Yeah. So there you go.
I think I mentioned off podcast at one point, like last week, that he was in the news not too long ago because some AI people were trying to like get him to like lend his voice so that they can use his voice in like AI stuff, and he was like, no, fuck you. He's very much like, I'm not down for that.
That 2015 film that you were trying to remember from this director, The Boy and the Beast?
Boy and the Beast.
Which I will, just looking at it, say, I think that adds up to my furry idea.
Well, I think the last word in that kind of adds to the idea.
So, are we ready to hear what the next recommendation is?
Yes.
Because we do have a mode of recommendations. It goes Bartek, then myself, then... Yeah, oh my god, it's the listening people!
Oh, yeah, everyone but us.
Everyone but us. So, if you out there have recommendations for movies for us to cover, we will get to them. We put them on a list, and we get to them. And I feel very... ashamed right now because it's not my shame, but I'm a part of the team here. I'm sure the IMDb will have some goof section in which this will be brought up. Please put a goof section on an IMDb page.
Oh, I'd love that.
We have to correct the record. Bartek accidentally put the wrong movie on for a recommendation that we had, and recently we covered that.
Oh, the Inside thing?
Yep. You wanna explain this a bit more? So we did Inside?
Yeah, so our friend Stefan, he recommended us a whole bunch of films. And one of them, he recommended Inside, and he actually did say that it's the Bo Burnham like comedy special or something like that. So when I told him, like, hey, we did Inside, he's like, oh, that's not what I
The
recommended.
2023 film that we covered on the pod starring Willem Dafoe.
Yes. So he meant the comedy special, whatever it is.
And we're going to do that.
Is it a movie?
It is, in a way. It's very cinematic. You'll see.
Okay.
Here's the thing. He recommended it, and I thought because you entered it, you put Inside the movie, and I'm just like... And it was a big thing when it came out, the Bo Burnham one.
Yeah.
But I didn't know anything, so I was like, oh, this is a movie. You put it in. You put in the year, even the IMDb. We have a whole system. And I was like, great. And then you were like, this was wrong. And I'm like, you know what? I feel like we got to correct the record. And we could talk about next week, how do we feel about like this as a thing? Because it was a big deal because it was a pandemic released thing. So we can discuss more next week how we feel when we talk about like now we're entering... Well, you can't say live work because it's not, like live entertainment work. We've never done like... So this will be something different, but I wanted to put this out there because it was in my mind and I didn't want to forget about it, and we never acknowledged on the podcast. I remember in our discussion, I was like, oh, I thought it was going to be the Bo Burnham thing, but it wasn't. You did
mention it, yeah.
But I wanted to be sure because I know Stefan, our friend. I know him well enough. He comments on my things sometimes. He's like, what do you think? And I know a part of him's like, I really want to know what they thought about that. So we're coming back around and we can have our conversations more about...
He hadn't even heard of the film that we did.
You should watch it. It was a good movie. But that is it. Thank you all so much for listening. Bartek, how can people contact us and where can they find us on the internet?
You can find us in various places on the internet, such as Twitter or x.com. We got an account there, Spit and Polish Presents. We've also got a Facebook page with the same name, Spit and Polish Presents. YouTube channel where we upload every single episode and you can watch them and comment on them. Spit and Polish Presents, if you can believe that.
What? Is that what it is?
You didn't know?
Now I'm not only just a believer, I'm a believer, which is even better.
I guess. IMDb, give us a trivia section and say that the YouTube channel happens to have the same name as everything else.
And when you say the patronizing tone thing, put in parentheses Bartek right now for that I guess that he gave me in reply to the believer thing. That was very patronizing.
Yes, but I'm only patronizing to Ryan.
That's it. But the tone is there.
Listening people, love you guys too much.
We love you too much.
And Poland, get your shit together.
Get your shit together.
But if you want to contact us in a more secret way, you can do that through our email address, which is spitandpolished@gmail.com. All of this is in the description, except the YouTube channel, but just look it up.
Just look it up. Do your part.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not patronizing to listening people.
Don't do that, Bartek. How about we ease up and just say... Remember to be kind to each other, or we will come to your neighborhood, find you in an alleyway, and make your dad, piss his pants and run away like a coward.
I think I know what they meant by insensitive now.
He was an abuser. Fuck that guy.
Hey, you don't know his story because you are uninformed.
What's his story? What's his tragic backstory to justify being an abuser?
Okay, and in the connections section, now you have to make connections to Red Letter Media, because that's what that reference was.
Also, Clannad. Just throw that in there to have, we have to have the dad who's an abusive figure now be, justified because they have a hard time too.
Everyone check out Clannad.
Specifically, that was Clannad After Story?
That's where the resolution was.
But that's where that part of it is.
Yeah.
Specifically. To get real, I don't want the IMDb page just to link Clannad. They have to link that specifically because that's the one I'm specifically referencing.
And don't forget to link the game itself because that's also in there.
Fine.
And look up clips of Fuko. She's fun.